Are you asking me if Maya Lopez is the Phoenix?
Maybe?
Ekko, as a standalone series, it is working in more grounded territory. It is a very personal story to Maya. She has to confront her own personal history, her own personal demons, learning to, stand up to people who have wronged her, but also embrace people who she left behind as well. So everything supernatural in the show is very weighted in metaphor. Yes, it's Marvel-y, yes, it's power-based, but the way it resonates with her personal growth is really the cool part.
Marvel's Ekko follows Maya Lopez returning to her family and home in Oklahoma after breaking free from the hold of Kingpin, aka Wilson Fisk. Maya first made her MCU appearance in Marvel's Hawkeye series, where she acted as Fisk's right-hand woman. After learning, however, that Kingpin killed her father William, she took revenge and shot the villain in the face, presumably killing him. Returning to her childhood home in the first episode of Ekko, Maya comes face to face with her ancestors and her repressed trauma from losing both her parents to violence. Unraveling Maya's long family history shows a fierce bloodline whose legacy and strength comes from surviving on the brink of life or death. Thematically, it seems like the MCU is paving the way for Maya Lopez to become the next host of the Phoenix Force, a character that defies time and space. We spoke to executive producers Brad Winderbaum and Richie Palmer from the show to discuss this theory.
Generations are echoing, reaching out to us.
While we saw Maya's fighting and street-level combat skills in Hawkeye, Ekko focuses on her coming into her own fantastical power. What that power is in the MCU is a little tricky to specify, though. In the comics, her power set is similar to Taskmaster, described as photographic reflexes that allow both characters to mimic any skill that they observe. Hence, Maya's alias is Ekko. However, in the new series, Ekko refers to her matrilineal ancestors reverberating within her when she reconnects with that part of herself. It's kind of like being the Avatar.
Sydney came in and she had a very clear vision on what the story of Maya Lopez could be. And from there, Sydney really wanted to, honor the fact that she is a character from Marvel Comics that could stand next to all these other fantastical characters. And while we didn't want to give her fantastical powers that might not feel like they fall in line with the same tone of the show, we wanted to honor on the fact that she is one of these characters from Marvel Comics. So how do you meet the two in the middle, I think, is how we came up with that, where her powers really are stemming from her connection to her ancestors. And then from there, I think we took the figurative and made it a little more literal on our show in the fun way that only we can at Marvel. So it was really cool for us to be able to do that.
Maya's power manifests as glowy orange spirals that appear on her palms, which signal that her ancestors are reaching out in times of need to give an extra oomph to her abilities. She's able to draw on the gifts of her ancestors: strategy, cunning, and ferocity, as well as love. This one, of course, comes from her mother. Her grandmother Chola tells Maya that her mother Taloa was a healer. We eventually see that Maya has also inherited that gift from her, possibly healing Fisk from the hurt and trauma of his father's abuse, as well as the effects of killing his father. During a fight in the 5th episode, Maya shares her powers with Chula and Bonnie so that they can also fight off Kingpin's henchmen. This is most likely only possible because they are her blood relatives. Protecting life is a theme of this series as evidenced by the flashbacks to Maya's ancestors, but could these abilities also hint at Maya possibly becoming the host of the Phoenix Force?
Who's the monster?
In the comics, Maya becomes the host of the Phoenix Force and also takes on the alias Thunderbird, after the original John Proudstar, who was a member of the X-Men. Thematically, it makes sense for Maya to take on the Phoenix Force in the MCU. The Phoenix Force is a cosmic entity that, among many things, can manipulate life and death. Ekko shows the important role of Maya's matrilineal Choctaw ancestors as life-givers and protectors in times of destruction and creation. The strength they showed in these moments surges through Maya when in distress. For instance, Chula describes giving birth to Taloa as a life or death ordeal. When the ancestors appeared to Chula, she looks up as though in a pond looking up through a watery window at Tuklo while she braids her hair. Water, a common symbol of life, is used throughout the show in flashbacks and in the present. Water rains down on Chula as she gives birth. Chafa drinks from a shimmery blue font before protecting her family as their cave falls down around them. It rains the night of the car accident that took Taloa's life. Such is the life of birth and death, of which the phoenix is a symbol. Interestingly, the water imagery also ties to the original native MCU character, Kahori, who is a Mohawk and was just introduced in Season 2 of What If. In that story, the Tesseract turned the Forbidden Lake into a mysterious void where people from surrounding tribes disappeared, leading to distrust, strife, and bloodshed between these tribes. What was really going on was the lake had become a portal to the sky world, where those who entered were given incredible gifts. The Spanish conquistadors who invaded and destroyed Kahori's village find the lake and presume it to be the Fountain of Youth, another symbol of renewed and extended life. Using the new powers they received from the sky world, Kahori and the other previously missing natives return to save and protect her tribe. Between Maya's own comic history as the host of the Phoenix Force and hints from What If Season 2, how Ms. Marvel's origins were adapted and led her to be a mutant in the MCU, the recent inclusion and anticipated introduction of the X-Men, there's a good case to be made that Maya could become that character in the future. In the comics, Kamala Khan is an Inhuman whose abilities were activated by a Terrigen mist that allowed her limbs to stretch and embiggen. In the Disney Plus Ms. Marvel series, Kamala's powers revolve around the ability to manipulate hard light, which was made possible because of her great-grandmother Aisha's djinn/clandestine background. This makes her a mutant, as her friend Bruno tells her at the end of the season.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes, like a mutation.
With the MCU shifting to welcome mutants, it's possible to start planting the seeds for the Phoenix to make a return that isn't Dark Phoenix or Jean Grey related. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness brought Patrick Stewart back as Professor Xavier, and the post-credits scene of The Marvels shows a parallel universe Beast and Binary, aka Maria Rambeau, in the sub-basement of the X-Mansion. Even the new X-Men 97 animated series will likely hint at Jean Grey's post-Dark Phoenix life if Madeline Pryor's Goblin Queen is involved, as expected. Okay, the animated show will probably exist in its own universe, but still, it's never been a better time to be cast as a mutant.
No one can control the power of the Phoenix.
Palmer was more forthcoming about Maya's comics history and her possible future in the MCU.
I think we'll want to continue to honor the character from the comics the way she was portrayed in the comics, which means it can actually go anywhere, as in recent comics she's even gotten the powers of the Phoenix and crazy stuff like that. So I think we'll just keep watching those comics and seeing how that story unfolds and try to do justice by the fans of those books.
I won't let you bring a war here.
As for if or when we'll see Maya again, or how the Spotlight series will fit into the larger MCU,
I think the answer is always, and this is a very Marvel answer, but the answer is always maybe. You never know when these characters are going to pop up. Even though it's a Spotlight and it's standalone and you can watch it on its own terms, she's still living in the same world, still breathing the same air as these larger-than-life heroes, so the future is, in a beautiful way, still uncertain. I would say that moving forward, many of our stories will feel more standalone. They won't all be spotlights, but their tethers to other projects will be less significant to the plot. They will be character-focused and may have Easter eggs, may have cameos, but really will be about that story working as a piece in and of itself.
Seeing how Ekko ends, Fisk, in running for mayor of New York City, is only going to be expanding the power that he was once going to hand down to Maya. While Maya chooses to stay with her family, there's nothing that says she can't possibly return to New York to stop him. Maybe also possibly team up with Daredevil? Could this signal that future Disney Plus offerings will be more spotlights to keep the larger phase-relevant stories to feature films? Time will tell.